All right, I'm gonna go back to normal session today. I won't try the Spanish thing again. I've tortured everyone last time. I'm gonna try to continue on here, but this time go to the more unusual ones, going to the 7, 9, 11, and 13, building the chord construction. From there, again, going through the three different collections of notes, and that's going to be my plan today, I think. At least as of now. And I'm going to try to noodle around. Again, I'm trying to just maybe mess with kind of like just as my practice, my warm-up session, practicing with the same kind of Spanish thing, just because that's in A minor, it's what I know. And then maybe try to get the cajon in there, and then try to work in some of like the muting techniques just with that rhythm. So it's just basically going from this A minor position, one way you can play it, A, down to G, down to F, down to E, but then you have not E minor, but E major. So it's just going, that's just the normal progression. And then I'm just gonna try to work in my little techniques from here to here. That's the root, the G, Mixolydian to Lydian. That's the root. The root is nodal point number 4, and then it would go to the minor here, but no. I mean, it would go to this one, right? The minor here, but no, it's going to push this one up. Why? Because it leads back into the A. Is how you, at least traditionally, you would think about it. Except that the Spanish thing seems to hang on it without relieving the tension. It seems like. Okay, so then how can I work in my cajon into that, and then I was working on cajon, and then like trying to do like scratch picking. I was working on scratch picking just for rhythm, and see if I can fit it into the normal rhythm of that, right? So. See, it doesn't seem, it's not normal to put scratch picking in there, but I feel like there should be a way. All right. Still having trouble working the cajon in there. Let me try to get a quick joke and then I'll get back to the normal routine. I don't think this joke is just a normal stupid wordplay joke, I think. But gotta do the practice session on the joke. So let's see. It makes it good because of the AI images, but it's AI slop. Yeah, I know. Look, it's got 6 toes. It still looks better than I could. It's still 1, 2, 3, 4. No, that's 5. Wait, no, 6, because the thumb is, the whatever. Still looks pretty good, I feel like. I don't know. Anyways, let's see. It's an epic toe. 6-footed toe. All right. Let's see what I have here. Okay, the game is afoot. First of all, no. The game I refuse to play is afoot. The game that I refuse to play is afoot. Why? Because I suspect, as supported by statistics regarding feet, that the foot has not been washed. So I refuse to play the game that is afoot. I don't know whose foot it is. I don't know where it's been. I don't like the rules are basically like, trust us, it's a clean foot when the game is afoot. No. I don't see the whole thing with the feet. That's not a rule. That's like a vibe, man. Who wants to play a game where the main piece is something that's been inside a sock all day? That's not a game. That's a biohazard with confidence. No, thank you. I'll just play my guitar with my hands. Thank you very much. Hands are indoor tools. Feet are field equipment, for crying out loud. And who decided making the game afoot was the move to make anyways, for crying? I mean, at some point in history, some guy stood up and said, what if instead of hands, the most precise instrument God gave us, we use the feet for this particular game and have the game afoot? You know, the part of the body where God was like, listen, I did my best down there, but don't get ambitious. I got a little lazy at that last bit. Once I got to that last bit, I was a little tired. So hold on. Wait a second. Is this a European thing? That's where this came from, isn't it? That's where this came from, because that would explain a lot. Oh yes, this is football, but for detectives. The game is afoot. So now you have to take like soccer, European soccer off the field and do your detective work with your feet. Is that what's going on here? Because if I'm investigating a crime, I'm not like, all right, boys, spread out, use your feet. You know, that doesn't seem like the way to go. We need to get serious when we get to this stuff. No detective has ever said, I'm going to dust for toe prints. Although maybe, I don't know. Looks like it kind of would work, but if the guy was barefoot. But whatever. I'm just saying, hands are the default setting, you know. And no, this does not mean I want to play goalie. Everyone always says that, you know. Okay, you want to use your hands, go play goalie. I mean, what does that even mean from the detective standpoint if the game is afoot and I want to use my hands? I have to go into like the research lab on the computer or something instead of kicking all the clues around? I mean, no. I don't want to be imprisoned in a rectangle like I'm being punished for liking fingers. That's not right. I don't want the one job where the ball is allowed to hit me angry. I want to be free. I want to travel the entire game board with my hands like a civilized animal. Why is the one guy who can use his hands also the guy dressed like a medieval hostage? Everyone else is like freedom, running, strategy. And the goalie's like, I live here now. They won't let me out. Anyways, whatever. I kind of like soccer, actually. I grew up playing soccer. I'm a middle-sized human, so middle-sized, decently, regularly proportioned human. So soccer, I liked it. And hacky sack. Went through a bit of a hacky sack thing, but anyway. But that's my joke. Let's see what we have on the Suno. See what Suno gives us. I plugged it into Suno.
The game is a food. First of all, no, the game I refuse to play is a foot, though. Why? Because I suspect they're supported by stats and science. That foot has not been washed, and I don't like the odds of compliance. I don't know whose foot it is, I don't know where it's been, and I don't trust a rule book that says, relax, it's clean. That's not a rule, that's a vibe, that's the same energy as don't worry, bro, it's fine. No thank you, respectfully. I'll keep my distance from your foot-based destiny. Hands in the air like humanity intended. Feet on the field where the mud never ended. No thank you, I'm good. That's not a game, that's a confident biohazard in shoes. Who wants to play a game where the main piece is something that's been inside a sock since breakfast? That's not a sport, that's a smell with ambition. That's bacteria walking around with Olympic permission. So I'll just play my guitar with my hands. Thank you very much, like a reasonable man. Hands are indoor tools, delicate, refined. Feet are field equipment left outside in the rain to survive. And who decided this was the move anyway? Some guy in history stood up one day, said hear me out instead of hands, God's finest design. What if we use the feet, the party rush at the end of the timeline? I was like, listen, I did my best down there, but don't get ambitious. I was tired, it was late, I cared less. Yeah, I got a little lazy on that last bit. No thank you, respectfully. This foot first future's not for me. Precision goes up top, dirt stays low. That's just biology trying to let you know. Hold on. Is this a European thing? Because that would explain a lot. Oh yes, this is football, but for detectives, is it? Because if I'm solving a crime, I'm not saying, all right, boys, spread out, use your feet. No detective ever whispered, I'm gonna dust for toe prints, while dramatically crouching over a footprint that makes no sense. Hands are the default setting since the dawn of the species. That's not opinion, that's how tools work historically. And no, this does not mean I wanna play goalie. Everyone says it like they caught me in a lie. Slowly. Oh, you want hands? Be the goalie. No, I don't wanna be imprisoned in a rectangle, like I'm being punished for lacking fingers. That feels political. I don't want the one job where the ball's allowed to hit me angry like it's mad I chose this career path and wants revenge personally. I wanna be free, I want range, I want space, I want hands on the board, not trapped in one place. I wanna travel the whole damn game like a civilized mammal with thumbs and a brain. No thank you, I've thought it through. You can keep the foot, I'm keeping what humans do. Why is the one guy who can use his hands also dressed like a medieval hostage? Everyone else is yelling freedom, running strategy, and the goalie's like, I live here now, they won't let me out.
Alright. I think it's just reading my script and putting like, but that's okay. Still not bad. Not bad. When I was a kid, they stuck me in goalie. No one else. They tried to say I was good at it, but it's like, I mean, back in that point, the ball never went to the goalie. Like the whole mob, it was like a mob of kids. The mob just roams the field, and there's no like structure, and then the goalie's just sitting back there. I want to be in the mob, you know? Like, what is this crap? Whatever. Let's see. Probably better I wasn't in there. Okay. Let's see. Okay, I was on this collection of notes. So let's do this. I'm just going to map this out. I'm going to practice my nodal points, my distance, my counting, and memorization of 3 different shapes at the same time. So I'm in the collection of notes around the key of C, which I could find by putting my pinky on coordinate 8, 1. That's fret 8. 1 is Ionian, which goes back to fret coordinates 5, 6, meaning fret 5, nodal point 6. That's going to be position number 1, which I can then count because I can call this an Aeolian position or a G-shaped position from a caged perspective. And I don't renumber, I just go 6 to 6. 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Here's the other 6, 6 to 6. I'm on this nodal point. I figured out that the third related to it is going to be back here. So that's going to be the first modal half step, first modal whole step, second modal half step, third scale degree, which is going to be 4 notes away. We saw that the fifth is going to be up top in this shape that we're going to use, although we can also see it down here as well. And that's going to be the second modal whole step, which is the fourth modal half step, fifth scale degree, which is 7 notes away, but we're going counterclockwise if we go up there. Therefore, it's -5 between the strings. Okay, so let's go to the 7 again. We'll do that quickly because I think I did that a couple days ago. So the 7 minus 1 is 6. So I want to go 6 modal half steps up from nodal point 6, but that would be the clockwise direction. So I want to go counterclockwise because I could just go 1 step back because there's only 7 steps. So 6 forward, 7 minus 6 would be 1 back. So 6 minus 1 is 5. So that would be nodal point numero 5. So we're going to go down here with this one. And so that means I might have this one down here, but I probably can't reach it. And so it's going to be down there. So that means that nodal point number 5, which is Mixolydian, is going to be 3 modal whole steps, which is 6 modal half steps, plus 1 7 scale degree away from nodal point 6, Aeolian, which has a minor distance of 10 notes away, which I can count by counting 5 notes between the string, 5, and then from the perspective of that node, this tectonic plate shifted to the right, so I have to go 10 diagonally up here, 5, and then 10, and then 15, which I can bring back down to a local distance under 12. 15 minus 12 is 5 minus 2, which is 3, and then 3, 2, 1, 0, or 12, octave, 12, 11, 10. So it's 10 notes away from a local distance as we go around the wheel. Let me get Ara in here. Ara needs to be involved. That's what everybody's here for, to hear Ara. No one wants to hear me jammer without Ara. Let's see. See if she's available. She was going crazy last night again. She doesn't read the book properly. Ara. She like paraphrases the book. I'm like, read the book. And then she goes on for like hours like acting like she's reading the book, but she's not. Oh no, Ara's down. Not working. Grok's experiencing a server-related issue. Okay. Ara's down. Well, she's probably sick because she was having a problem yesterday, I'm telling you. Read the book. Oh, I was just paraphrasing because I was into it. So I was what in the heck? You're lying to me. Is this reading the text? Ugh. All right, let's go to this collection of notes over here. We're going to say now, so this collection of notes is around, I'm going to make that nodal point here. I want to make that the Mixolydian. So I'm going to say, okay, now I'm just going to switch modes in the middle of the song. I was jamming in A minor Spanish progression. At least that's how I see it. But now I'm gonna go bluesy on it and be like, I'm gonna just sneak into the blues by pivoting around that nodal point and making it the Mixolydian. Now I'm gonna go bluesy. But you don't have qualifications. You don't have the proper qualifications to play either Spanish stuff or bluesy stuff. I don't care. I'm American. I play whatever I dang well please. I mix it, I match it. That's what I don't. Okay. So what's gonna happen here? The third's gonna, okay, no. So what collection of notes am I in? So one way I can find it, it's like, okay, if I want to pivot that to a Mixolydian, I want to start to memorize, well, if that's that string, if it's the D string, then I should be able to see exactly what collection of, what shape I'm in from that. How can I do that? Well, I think the most fastest way to do it is to say, where's the box connected to it? That's what I'm tending towards now. And the box is, that nodal point 5 is always to the right of the box. So that means if I'm leaning back to the box, it's going to be, the backwards is going to be shape number 5. And if I'm leaning forward, the box is always going to be above it, right? So if I lean forward, the box is going to be up here. So that means leaning forward, of course, if the box is on the top, that's shape number 1. So that means I can define, if I'm making the note that is on string D, the Mixolydian node, then I know that nodal point is going to, I can define it as, it's going to be on fret 7, and it's the intersect between shape 5 and shape 1. So it's the, so I'm looking at, so that's where I'm at. So if I'm leaning backwards, I'm going to be in shape 5. And if I'm leaning forwards, I'm in shape 1. And that's how I can think of, like, so now if I'm sneakily going from A minor, Spanish thing, now I'm sneakily, like, maybe leaning forward to shape 1 and going into the bluesy thing. So the reason I say sneakily doing it is because you can pivot around the collection of notes, all the nodal points around that node, and there's 7 different collection of notes that I can think of as that the tonic of. That's one way to pivot around different collections of notes, which you could also think of as, well, you're adding, people often think of it as like, well, you're adding notes from other collections of notes. That's another way you can think of it, or you can think of it, I'm now pivoting around to the nodes that are around here, or the other way that you would sneakily pivot or move from a different feel is to pivot to a different note in the same collection. And right, those are the ways that you would pivot through. I don't think a lot of pop music, the thing is, I don't think a lot of pop music kind of does that a lot. Like, it's not exactly the most interesting dynamics. That's why I think because they tend to stay primarily in one key, maybe more. But I think it's going to change maybe as, like, we get all this technology, because I don't know what's going to happen. But anyways, you would think it just seems interesting to do that. Like, I'm like, okay, now I'm in minor, now I'm in Mixolydian. So, so where's the 7? So that's the collection of notes I'm in. Where's the position number 1 then? Well, if this is position number 1 there, then the Ionian is on the end of that. So the Ionian's over here. So I'll define that collection of notes by where the Ionian is, which is D major. So D major goes back to goes back to B minor, which goes to A Mixolydian. So if I counted this position 1 up from 6 to 6, it would be 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. But here's nodal point number 5 that I'm on. Okay, so where's the 7th? So we're going to say the 7 minus 1 is 6. So we're going 6 modal half steps up from there, but that would be 6 clockwise. We're going counterclockwise, so it's 7 minus 6 is 1. So we go backwards 1. So 5 minus 1 is 4, so we're looking for a 4, and we have one back here. I'm going to take that 5th and bring it down here, which is a little bit more doable possibly. And so that means that nodal point 4, which is Lydian, is always going to be the 3rd modal whole step times 2 6 modal half steps plus 1 7th scale degree from nodal point 5, which is the Mixolydian. And it's going to have a distance of also a minor distance because the Mixolydian has a minor 7 10 notes away. We already counted it out. It's the same distance away. It's the same relative position in half steps. Okay, so that would be back this way. Back to 3. So I don't usually reach back for that one. So I would think getting this finger here would be my pivot to plant, or possibly this finger. So if I'm noodling around, okay, if we're on the collection of notes around the key of C, what's going to happen? I'm going to change that nodal point to a 1. So if I'm just playing, I'm like, okay, that middle string now, I want to change that to a nodal point number 1. Well, if I envision that becoming number 1, the number 1 by definition is on top of the box. This box, Ionian, is going to be right there, right? So I'm going to go over here and say, okay, now I'm in the box in the middle. So the easiest way to see that is to say, well, okay, well that means that note is right on the top of the box. So and if that box is on the strings D and G, the lean forward shape, this shape, meaning if I'm on the back of the shape, is going to be shape number 3, which you might call Ionian D shape. So I just know that if I'm in that middle string, if I'm on the D string and I want to make that the tonic and make it the Ionian, then I'm going to be leaning forward from that point into the D shape, which you know from the cage system, right? Because now we're on the majors, so the cage system works beautifully with the Ionian. Doesn't work so well with the other modes, you might notice. There's a limitation to the cage system. You have to see it in perspective. All right, so that's cool. So, and that means that if I'm leaning backwards, if this is position 3 or D shape, then this is going to be position 2 or the E shape. Now I could find, okay, well, where would position 1 be? I want to find the Ionian on the top string. So here's the A here. There's the A back here. So there's the A on the top string, which I can see by shape. And that's going to be the end point. So that would be then my pinky fret coordinate system 5 1 5 Ionian going back to fret 2, 6, coordinate 2, 6, which is 2 mixed 2 Aeolian. So from Aeolian to Aeolian, what I call shape number 1, 6, 7, 6, 7, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 is right here, which would be there. So it's going to be an A major now that we're in. Okay, so cool. So now it's an A major. So where's the 7? The 7 now is going to be an 11 note away 7. So we're going to say, okay, if we have the 7 minus 1 is going to be 6 modal half steps. That would be going clockwise. We're going to counterclockwise. So it's one step back from the Ionian. I can't go back down to 0. I go back to 7. 1 minus 1 goes not to 0 but to 7. There is no, and that's going to be up here. It's a difference because it's 11 notes away, because now we're in a major node which has an 11 note distance instead of 10 note distance. I'm going to bring this note, the 5th, down here now. And so we can count that out, 11 note distance, which would be 5, and then 10, 15. 15 minus 12 is 5 minus 2, which is 3, 2, 1, 0. So we're back to octave, minus 1 or 12. Minus 1 would give us 11. So it's a local distance of 11 away if we think about it as a clock. And you get that lovely major. I could put the A on top here too, it's another root. If you don't want that A on top, you could try to bar it this way and still get that bottom bit while muting that top bit. All right, let's try to do one more before I wear out here. Let's say we go to the 9. So the 9, so this is where we get the compound scale degrees and modal steps. So the 9 is equivalent. If I build a chord, it's the 9, but it's the 2 that we skipped. So the 9 and the 2 have the same kind of local distance, if we think about it that way. So we're going to go, okay, if I go 9 modal half steps up, we could take it down to 2. 9 is equivalent to the 2. Let's take 9 minus 1 is 8. So it would be 8 modal half steps up. But 8 is greater than 7, so I can say then it's going to be 8 modal half steps up would be an octave up. 8 minus 7 would be 1. So we're going to get nodal point 6 plus 1 would be 7. So nodal point number 7, which would be the Locrian, would be the next one. So I'd probably, I don't want to take the 3rd back, so I'd probably take this one down here and drop the 7 to pick up the 9, maybe the way to go on that one. So then that would be, let's see if that makes sense. So to pick up the 9. So, okay, so that would be, so that means that this nodal point 7 Locrian from a modal whole step perspective is always 4 modal whole steps up. 4 times 2 would be 8 modal half steps, plus 1 would be the 9th scale degree. But that would be an octave up. So 8 modal half steps minus 7 would be 1 modal half step up. And so 1 modal half step up from a nodal point to 6 is 2 notes up, meaning the second, major second instead of a minor second, even though it's going from a minor node. So the second should be 2 notes up, right? So we're going to say, okay, I'm going to count down. It should be 2 notes up. There's 5 notes between the strings, and then 10 going this way, and then 15, bringing that down to the local distance would be 15 minus 12, 5 minus 2, or 3, then back to 2. So that has a local distance of 2 notes away. So if I wanted to pull that 9 in, it would be like down here. And I'm going to mute the B string. So minor 9 is little, leaves you wanting a resolve. Let's try to do that last bit before I. What if? ¿Qué pasaría si lo quiero ser? Okay, no, don't do that. You lost viewers last time. I'm gonna make it to 5. ¿Qué pasaría si esto es uno cinco? Okay, I'll tell you what happens. We're looking for the 9 now. So the 9, and we're looking for the 9, which is equivalent to the 2. So I could say, well, if it's equivalent to the 2, then the 2 is off by 1, meaning it's 1 modal half step up, right? So I could see that and say, okay, well, if I'm going from the 5, it's also going to be a major second, 1 modal half step up, 5 to 6. So I'm looking for an aeolian. So I have one in the relative position down here, 5 to 6, which should be 6 to, yeah, it's the same, yeah, same relative position because it's a major second. All right, that makes sense. Okay, so then if I play that, I'm gonna have to drop then this node, but I might be able to still pick up the 5th a little bit more easily that way. Okay, so that's gonna be then the same relative distance. So that means that the 6 nodal point number 6 aeolian is always from a chord construction, which would be an octave up. It's always the 4th modal whole step, which is an octave up of the local distance, times 2 would be 8 modal half steps, plus 1 would be the 9th scale degree. But if it's 8 modal half steps forwards in the clockwise direction, and there's only 7 nodal points in the circle, then it's going to be 8 minus 1, because I went more than 1 lap around the circle. I mean, 8 minus 7 is 1. So it's just 1 modal half step up from a local clockwise direction perspective, which means that's why it's going to be the 1 modal half step up. Okay, and the distance is the same, lo mismo, because it's a major second, and the minor aeolian has a major second still. They all have major seconds except for the crazy Locrian and the Phrygian, the ones on the back of the house, the back of the cajon, are going to have a minor second distance. All right. Without the minor, without the major 9, with the major 9, without it, with it. Hermosa. Okay, what if I made this? What if I made this from nodal point 5 to nodal point 1? Notice if I'm in nodal point 5, remember where we are. Where do I define my shapes? If I make that A, it's in the middle string, is now nodal point number 5, meaning I want to play in Mixolydian with it as the tonic, then the box is behind it. So if the box is behind it, it's on the bottom side, like the 5 is on the bottom of the cajon to the right of it. So that means it's going to be, when the box is up here, that's shape number 5, and leaning forward, shape number 5, the box is going to be up top. And so when the box is up top on the top 2 strings, closest to the ceiling, then that is shape number 1. So I'm in between this nodal point. If I'm gonna make the D string the Mixolydian node, then I'm in between. I'm on the front of shape 5 and the back of shape 1, or the front of the Ionian A shape, if you want to name it from a cage system, and the back of the Ionian G shape. All right. Then what if I make that the 1? Then if I make it the 1 and I go over here and say, okay, I'll make it the 1, I'll tell you what will happen then. If I make that the 1, then of course now I'm at the top of the box, because it's Ionian's cajon, it's Ionian's house. So that means that that means the box is going to be right in the middle on strings D and G, which means if it's leaning forward, I'm leaning forward into shape number 3, which you might call the D shape from a cage system, or leaning backwards if the box is on the front of the shape. Then that means that it's going to be shape number 4, which is going to be the Ionian E shape, or you might call it like the Locrian shape if you were playing it from Locrian, but no one does that, so no one calls it that, but it's still like the Locrian shape if you want to name it that way from the top point. And what if I'm looking for, once again, the 9? The 9 is equivalent to the 2. The 2 is going to be one is off by 1, so 2 minus 1 is just 1 modal half step up from the node I'm on, which is node number 1. So node number 1 to node number 2. So that would be Dorian. So Dorian, that means node number 2, Dorian, is always the 4th modal whole step, which would be the 8th modal half step, which would be the 9th scale degree away from nodal point number 1. And it has a local distance of 8 modal half steps minus 7, which would be 1 modal half step up from the Ionian. And it's the same distance of 2 notes away, which we already saw in the other 2 cases, so I don't really need to count it out. And we get the same relative shape. Notice under normal naming conventions for that chord, I believe that would be called something like an A major 9 chord. But I'd rather not call it that, because then that would be the same under these 2 conditions, because now I'm thinking of it as Mixolydian versus here Ionian. I'd rather call it like a 5-note Ionian, where I drop the 1 nodal point of it, right? Or I'd rather call it an Ionian 4 modal whole step chord, because that defines the endpoints of the chord, and you just take every other nodal point, and then I'm dropping the 7th nodal point. So I would rather call it an Ionian 4 minus the minus 3, meaning the 3rd is the 6th modal half step plus 1 would be the 7th. So I'd rather call it an Ionian 4, an Ionian 4 minus the 3, Ionian 4 minus 3. But you might just name the nodal point Ionian 4 minus nodal point 7, right? That's a couple ways, meaning minus the Locrian node. I'm dropping the Locrian node. That way you're more specific, because then you can tell, then people know what shape you're in. It's not the Mixolydian shape. Whereas this one, by the way, I would rather call it a Mixolydian 4 minus the 3. Right, minus the one that's 3 modal half steps up. 3 times 2 is 6 modal half steps, plus 1 would be the 7th scale degree. Or from a nodal point, it's a Mixolydian 3 minus the 4th nodal point, meaning minus the Locrian node. So that, I think that would be more specific naming convention to try to actually tell people what you're doing a little bit instead of being a little vague with it, which seems like what happens. Animals. Let's go back to this shape. I'll try to play in like A minor again. I'll go back to bluesy, people. Go back to blues. You can't play the blues. You can't. I don't know. I'm not claiming to play. I'm going to noodle around with whatever the heck I feel like noodling around. Here we go.